Bitcoin can never ever replace gold. Gold has a special place in the entire world and the entire world's economic system, and Bitcoin will never ever replace it. This is exactly what doom and gloom boomers want you to think. The reality is very different. And that's why it's extremely important, and why I want everybody, if you can help me, to subscribe to this channel and subscribe to all Bitcoin channels so that the algorithm gets a good spanking to make sure that the Bitcoin content gets out in front of more people. Now, the reason why they want you to think this is because the reality is that gold has already been replaced. Most countries in the world have more US treasuries on their balance sheet than gold. In most countries in the world, gold is a hedge asset with, a 5 or 10% allocation. It is not this, and it's not even 5 or 10%, because here's the truth, right? If there was truly, 10% of all worldwide capital was going to be in gold, gold would have a $90 trillion market cap, because there's $900 trillion of capital in the world. Gold doesn't have that. Gold is an impotent asset. It has failed in its basic, proponents. When the amount of currency that was printed since 2020, gold has not managed to keep up with that valuation increase. So gold has had a good run. It is an impotent asset at this point, and it is going to continue to fail as a store of value over the long term. What the doom and gloom boomers are hoping is that, people will buy gold and then one day it will be repriced. But that's not going to happen. The can be kicked down the road for a lot longer than most people can sit in an investment. So gold is not going to replace Bitcoin or Bitcoin is not going to replace gold because it doesn't need to, right? Gold has already been replaced. There is no value in owning gold when somebody can control the supply lever of gold much easier than they can control the supply lever of real estate or equities, for example. So gold is an impotent asset. Bitcoin is infinitely better than gold on any stretch of the imagination. And I had Peter Spina arguing with me on Twitter about gold and posting all these posts about gold going up because of the Israeli conflict. So, it's like, if you want gold to go up, like, you got to wait for people to die and people to be bombed all over the place in order for your gold to go up, just so you can, smack your bricks together. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And how do I know that? Because most people, when you're having a conversation with people with capital, I'm not talking about $1,000 net worthers and $10 a month DCA gang. I'm talking about people with capital. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about, let's say, $500,000 of excess capital to, $30 million of capital. There is no conversation about gold happening. There might be an occasional conversation with the occasional person who just watches, too many Mike Maloney YouTube videos or whatever else it is. But there's no one's thinking about gold. Every investment report you read, the amount of interest in gold is going down. The amount of anytime you see capital moving from one generation to the next, I think the Charles Schwab survey, it was a couple years ago, the next generation is not interested in gold, right? And so, yeah, people are emotionally in love with gold, and they believe that gold is going to be this savior of an asset, and yet it just continues to screw you over and over again every year that goes by. And gold salespeople are incentivized to say this about gold, because they only make money when the poor people actually buy the gold, right? When a rich person buys a gold, they're buying gold at a 2 or 3% premium. When a poor person buys a gold, they're buying gold at a 50% premium. So you make more money selling volume on the gold than you do actually selling, and losing out on economies of scale. So of course you want people to believe that the world is coming to an end and all of this shit is happening, because that's the person who's going to end up buying your gold from you. So, and you can go and see the video that I put up a couple of weeks ago, and just go through my channel, and you'll see the comparison that I did, and finding out exactly how these gold predators are preying on people to to invest in gold at a 50-60% premium, right? So gold is an impotent asset. Most people with capital, $500,000 to $30 million, not that ultra high net worth level, but $500,000 to $30 million net worth, is not discussing gold, not thinking about gold, never has had a thought about gold, and gold is completely irrelevant. Now here's what the doom and gloom boomers would say. They're all wrong. Oh my God, they've got to be wrong. Gold is so important. You've got to have gold in order to defend it. Well, what happened to the fucking amount of money that's been printed and what's happened to the price of gold since then? How is gold still underperforming the amount of money that's been printed? How has gold not managed to surpass a $2,000 price point no matter what's happened? Why? Because of the fundamentals of gold. You can control the supply of gold, which is what you can't do that with Bitcoin. I can, Peter Spina's perspective to me was, the amount of gold exploration that's happened has gone down, the amount of gold being discovered. Therefore, we've reached peak gold. It's a stupid argument because in 3 seconds I brought up a chart that showed him that, there's been lower and lower amount of investment into gold. If you're not investing into something because there's no demand for it, how are you going to find it? Right? It doesn't make sense. So all of their arguments are just absolutely, what's that word, that phrase that was used in Billions? They're from physical morons, right? All of their arguments are basically physically retarded, right? That's what they are. It's a retarded argument to say that we've reached peak gold while the investment in gold exploration is actually going down. If you're not paying for people to go find something, how are you going to find it? And then the fact that you don't find it, you turn that into a marketing excuse to sell more gold. Bitcoin will never ever replace gold because gold doesn't need replacing. It did it to itself. It's murdered itself. It shot itself in the head. Gold is finished. Real estate is better than gold. Equities are better than gold. All of these things are much better than gold, which is why Warren Buffett doesn't invest in gold. Now, you might say Warren Buffett doesn't invest in Bitcoin either, but Bitcoin's different. Bitcoin's a technology. Warren Buffett invests in technology. It's just way too late, right? But he still becomes the richest person in the world, right, when he does. So at some point, Warren will understand Bitcoin, but he certainly understands gold just like everybody else. Now, here's the key thing. The people with money are not talking about gold. What are they talking about? They're talking about real estate. The binary choice when it comes to someone who's worth or who's investing $500,000 to $30 million is not, do I buy Bitcoin or do I buy gold? That's not the conversation that's happening. I'm telling you that right now. The conversation that's happening is, do I allocate to Bitcoin or do I allocate to real estate? That's it. So real estate is the binary option, not gold, which is why I've been saying for 2 years, I don't like the fact that people compare, and Wall Street's biggest scam has been Bitcoin is gold 2.0. It's not. It's, if anything, it's real estate 2.0, because that's what the binary option is. No one's going out here going, hey, do you think I should get into gold or Bitcoin? If you are, you've got a low net worth. It's just simple as that. On the whole, on the average, right? There's going to be people with a high net worth who are still deluded, and they're going to be buying gold instead of Bitcoin, and that's fine. But generally speaking, the consensus is always, do I buy Bitcoin or do I buy real estate? That's the argument that is being made, and that's the argument that I want to have with people, and that's the conversation that I have with people about why Bitcoin is a better version of real estate than real estate can be. Bitcoin is a better leverage asset. Bitcoin is a better legacy asset. Bitcoin is a better everything asset compared to real estate. So Bitcoin will never replace gold because gold has replaced itself already. Gold is an impotent asset and it won't survive. It has not managed to perform in any way possible whatsoever. So the main thing that you need to be thinking about here is, if you've got gold holdings like I had in 2020 and then I decided to liquidate all of them out by November of 2020, is what has gold done for you lately, right? What has gold done for you lately? And is it worth the size of the allocation that you have? Now, there'll be some people who are completely emotionally attached to gold, and that makes sense. But to think that your emotional attachment deserves a 50% allocation of your net worth is going to be moronic. By the way, not one single person I know that even speaks about gold, including myself when I did, ever said to anyone, yeah, gold, I think you should have a 50% of your wealth in gold. No one ever says that. Why? Because everybody knows everybody knows, right? Everybody knows. It just doesn't feel right. No one's ever gonna say you should put 50% of your assets into gold. It's always 10%. Well, what do I do with the rest? Oh, so you want me to go do with the rest exactly what you told me is the enemy? The stock market, real estate, these overbloated assets? What are we talking about here? So it doesn't make sense. Gold is an overbloated asset. It has replaced itself. It is minute. It is not even 10% of all worldwide money. It's a 10 to 13 trillion dollar asset. It's going to get smaller as Bitcoin continues to outprice it and become the better option. But Bitcoin is really real estate 2.0, not gold 2.0. And I have a video coming out about this and comparing Bitcoin to real estate again in the next week or so. So I want you to subscribe, because the faster you subscribe, the faster the YouTube algorithm gets spanked, and the faster we can get this message out there of Bitcoin to people who are currently falling for the message of gold. But despite all of that, there are still only 3 rules to Bitcoin. And as you approach these 3 rules to Bitcoin, you have to realize time is running out. Time is running out. The SEC is now telling the ETF companies exactly what type of ETF they want. This is like late stage conversations happening at this point. Time is running out. And so, while time is running out, there are still only 3 rules to Bitcoin, but you need to hurry the fuck up, because you are going to miss the boat. And remember, there are only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.